ang pattern na nakikita natin is when a disruptive technology comes in, napupuwersa yung mga tao to go meta, to go above it. And sila so yeah, you mentioned printing. Of course, we've seen what's happened in photography. Even as far afield as, say, weapons technology, diba? There used to be a time na that you would train people to use crossbows, longbows, right? They'd spend lifetimes to learn how to use a longbow, and then all of a sudden, gunpowder, diba? Na kahit na engot na nadampot mo lang sa kalsada, oy,
diba yung mga
hawakan
samurai
mo to, diba? Oy, ito, diba? Versus samurai.
Oo, diba?
Oy, uhugin, dito ka, tapos barilin mo yun, kayang-kaya mo na, diba? But that in turn forced the militaries to develop a higher order of thinking in terms of strategy, diba? Na, okay, because we're able to mass equip all of these people, then how do we arrange them? And then hence the development and refinement of battle tactics and whatnot, diba? So even in other spaces, again, like printing, for instance, diba nga na kahit na nawala yung scriptoria, diba, nung Middle Ages, na hindi na ganun ka you no longer had this laborious process of hand writing and hand copying things, diba? A lot of skills fell by the wayside, pero na-develop naman yung printing industry as we know it today, diba? And even since we're on the topic, like writing, for instance, ako frankly I cannot consider, siguro because I grew up with a word processor already, naisip ko, nagawa ko naman before writing on a typewriter, pero parang dali na sa akin na kaya kong baklasin yung sinusulat ko and rearrange them on paper before printing it out. That for me now is I could not think of doing anymore the old-fashioned typewriter linear printing method. Also in TV, video editing, non-linear is already the norm versus yung dating linear na kailangan splice mo ng directly, diba? So yeah, I mean, it does force us to step up in that way. And I think that's where the fear is coming from, kasi hindi natin lahat, and not just artists, writers, but everyone, even the public, is we're still in the process of grappling with the technology, what its implications are, and figuring out, okay, how will the dust settle? What will our world literally and figuratively look like once this has become widespread and commonplace? The last point that I'd like to point out is, up to this point, we're still talking about creation, artistic creation. But you mentioned earlier also the idea na artists and even AI art still needs to be vetted by the client or by a curator or someone else. Okay, this is it. But what happens when the AI becomes the curator itself?
The client.
What happens when the AI starts to ponder its own art or other AI's art and starts a conversation? Diba? What happens then? This leads to we don't know. I don't have the answers to that either. But it's interesting that a few years ago there was a news story that I think it was Facebook. I forgot if it's either Facebook or Google, where they developed two different AIs. I forgot for what purposes. No?
Yeah.
They started conversing with each other. You're smiling. You might
I've read that.
Anyway, from what I recall, they started conversing with each other. But because they were AIs talking to other AIs, they were conversing in a way that was efficient for them as machine constructs. But that language that they were using was unintelligible to the developers already. They had started conversing on their own. So they were like, shit, we don't know what's happening. So they pulled the plug, diba? So yun yung tanong din. So right now we're at that stage of mimicry, diba? Mimesis na imitating our human capability. But once they reach the point where they can do this on their own and converse with themselves, diba? Mas lalong hindi natin alam kung ano yung magiging kalabasan nun. And will they be creating art for AI too? Diba? What would that look like? Diba?
Oo nga.
Ano